Let me ask you something. Why is it that the more love you give, the more invisible you seem to become? You show up, you give your heart, you stay loyal, and somehow you're the one left hurting. It's not fair, and it's not random, it's a cycle, and today we're breaking it. If he's hurt you with silence, neglect, disrespect, or even emotional manipulation, and you're sitting there wondering, what did I do wrong? Stop. This isn't about what's wrong with you. It's about how you've been trained to respond when someone crosses the line with softness, over-explaining, second chances, and emotional overinvestment. That ends now. This video isn't about games, ego, or revenge. It's about clarity. It's about showing up as the woman who no longer begs for love, but instead commands respect through presence, silence, and unwavering self-worth. Because here's the truth. Men do not realize your value when you keep proving it. They realize it when you stop showing up. When your energy shifts, everything changes, and that's the moment they feel it. So before you send another paragraph, before you cry over someone who wouldn't cry for you, watch this video. We're going to talk about the exact response that makes him pause, reflect, and finally see what he had in you. And the best part, you don't need to say a single word to make it happen. Let's start. When he hurts you, the first thing your heart wants to do is react. You want answers. You want to understand why. You want to feel seen, heard, and validated, especially by the person who caused the pain. But the truth is, the more you chase that clarity from someone who just wounded you, the more power you silently give away. It's in those moments of pain that we often make the biggest mistakes, not because we're weak, but because we've been trained to respond from fear. Fear of losing him, fear of being alone, fear that if we don't act fast enough, we'll be forgotten. So you reach out, you send the paragraph, you ask, did I do something wrong? You try to fix what he broke, just so you don't have to feel broken. But here's the thing, you can't fix what you didn't break. And the moment you start trying to hold together something that someone else is actively pulling apart, you start losing pieces of yourself. You might think being calm and understanding will earn his respect, that if you just show how forgiving, patient, and loving you are, he'll realize your worth. But often it does the opposite. It shows him that you'll tolerate being hurt, that your love is unconditional, even when his effort is non-existent. That's not love. That's emotional self-abandonment, dressed up as loyalty. You don't need to over-explain your value to someone who should already see it. If someone can't recognize your worth, your silence will speak louder than your words ever could. And pretending everything's fine when it's not, that doesn't make you strong. It makes you invisible. Being unbothered isn't power if you're just bottling pain and calling it confidence. What most women get wrong in these moments is thinking that holding on to the connection is the win. It's not. The real win is holding on to your self-respect, even when your heart wants to beg for another chance. And the truth, begging, chasing, or constantly being the emotional caretaker for someone who hurts you only teaches them how far they can go without losing you. You want to be unforgettable. Start acting like someone who knows their energy is sacred, someone who doesn't need to raise her voice to make an impact. She just walks away when respect leaves the room, because that silence, that pause, that shift in your presence, that's the moment he feels it. That's when he starts to question his choices, his behavior, and what he just lost. So don't react to hurt by shrinking, chasing, or performing. You're not here to prove your worth. You're here to remember it. When he hurts you, let that be the moment you stop looking for reasons to stay and start listening to the reasons you should walk away. So he's hurt you. Maybe it was what he said, or worse, what he didn't. Maybe it was the way he dismissed your feelings, disappeared when you needed him most, or crossed a boundary you clearly set. The pain is real, but here's the question that matters most now. How do you respond in a way that protects your power, not your ego? Because let's be clear, strength isn't screaming, blocking him on every platform, or posting vague quotes on your story, hoping he'll feel something. That's emotional chaos. What we're aiming for here is emotional clarity. When someone hurts you, your first move should never be reaction. It should be reflection. Give yourself the space to feel what's coming up without turning those feelings into fuel for a performance. You don't need to prove you're over it. You don't need to prove anything. The most powerful response starts with pulling your energy inward. That means no impulsive texts, No chasing for explanations. No emotional explosions. Instead, take a breath and ask, does this situation reflect who I truly am or who I'm afraid to be without? You respond with class when you choose calm over chaos, when you say less but mean more, when you allow someone to see the distance their actions created, and you don't rush to fill that silence just to ease their guilt. You respond with strength when your absence speaks what your words never could. You don't get access to me the same way after you've mishandled me. If a conversation is necessary, speak with honesty, not hostility. You don't need to lash out or tear someone down to express how they made you feel. The most unforgettable people are the ones who can stand tall in their truth without trying to control how the other person receives it. That's power. Don't threaten to leave just to see if he'll beg you to stay. If you have to perform pain to be seen, it's not love, it's manipulation. Real strength is being willing to walk away, even if it breaks your heart, because you know staying would slowly destroy your spirit. Responding with class means setting a boundary and actually keeping it. It means unfollowing or muting him, not for attention, but for peace. It means not defending your value, just removing it from people who can't recognize it. No guilt, no games, just a quiet exit that says, I respect myself too much to stay where I'm not honored. The goal is not to make him feel what you felt. The goal is to remember who you are, to protect your softness with standards, to honor your heart by being the kind of woman who no longer needs to scream to be heard, because her energy already says it all. Class is silent, strength is still, and when you carry both, he'll feel your absence far louder than he ever heard your words. There's a silence that speaks louder than words, the kind that doesn't come from fear, punishment, or passive aggression, but from self-respect. That kind of silence is rare, and when used right, it becomes your greatest source of power. When someone hurts you, your instinct might be to scream, cry, explain, or defend yourself. You want them to understand how deeply they affected you. But here's the thing, people don't change because you tell them they hurt you. They change when they feel the shift in your energy. That's where silence becomes a message. Not the silence where you wait for him to reach out. Not the kind where you're secretly hoping he'll notice your absence and come running. I'm talking about grounded silence. The kind where you detach, not to punish, but to protect your peace. You're no longer trying to be heard. You're prioritizing being whole. When you set a boundary and stay silent when it's crossed, it teaches people everything they need to know. That you're no longer available for disrespect. That access to your time, energy, and love is not unconditional when the bare minimum isn't being met. Boundaries aren't walls to keep love out. They're doors that only open for those who knock with respect. Silence doesn't mean weakness. In fact, most people can't handle a woman who knows how to be still. They're used to drama, arguments, noise, anything they can control or deflect. But when you choose calm, when you step back without chaos, they're forced to sit with what they did. And that discomfort, that quiet echo of your absence, that's often when realization hits. You don't need to announce your boundary, you enforce it with your actions. You don't need to declare, I'm done. You just stop engaging, and your silence becomes the closure they didn't expect. That's where the shift happens. Not because you're playing games, but because you're done performing for someone who couldn't show up for you. Let them wonder. Let them feel the space your energy used to fill. Let them sit in the silence where your validation used to live. You're not doing it for a reaction. You're doing it for yourself. Because every time you choose silence over reaction, a boundary over begging, and peace over proving, you become untouchable. Your power doesn't lie in being louder. It lies in knowing when to walk away, when to go quiet, and when to protect your softness with strength. So if he's confused about why you're distant, let him stay confused. That's not your job to fix. Your only job is to honor the version of you that finally realized silence isn't weakness. It's the language of a woman who remembers who she is. Let's talk about regret. Not the kind you feel, but the kind he feels, or will feel, if you handle your pain with power instead of panic. Because whether he shows it or not, there's a moment, often quiet, often delayed, when it hits him. The realization, the regret, the what did I just lose moment. And it doesn't come when you cry, chase, or explain. It comes when you disappear. Psychologically, most people don't value consistency until it's gone. We normalize presence. We take for granted the person who is always there, always reaching out, always forgiving. That steady love starts to feel permanent, even when it's being disrespected. So when you finally pull away, not out of spite, but out of clarity, everything changes. Regret is born in contrast. He needs to feel the absence of your softness to recognize what it was doing for his life. He needs to sit in the space where your energy used to be, the check-ins, the encouragement, the effort, the way you cared even when he didn't deserve it. That contrast is where the regret begins. But here's the part most people miss. He doesn't regret losing you immediately. He regrets losing the version of himself that he was around you. The comfort, the access, the validation. It starts from ego, but over time, if you stay silent, stay grounded, and stay gone, the regret matures. He starts to realize he didn't just lose someone who loved him. He lost someone who saw him and still chose him. Now here's the trick: that realization only lands if you let it. If you stay in the cycle, keep responding, keep showing up emotionally even after being mistreated. He never has to face the loss. There's no consequence, no shift, no space for growth. Regret requires absence. It requires reflection. And reflection can't happen if you're still keeping the door halfway open. Some men won't get it. Some never will. They'll deflect, distract, or replace, thinking it numbs the loss. But the ones who truly valued you, even if they didn't show it right, will feel it. Not just in lonely moments, but in moments of comparison. When they realize that emotional safety isn't something you can just find again. It's rare, it's earned, and he had it until he broke it. You don't need to wish him regret. You don't need to hope he sees your worth. That's not your responsibility. Your job is to know your value so deeply that you stop negotiating it. And once you do, once you let go for real, the space you leave behind will speak for itself. Regret is his burden. Realization is his journey. But your healing, that's yours alone. Here's the truth. The moment everything starts to change isn't when he apologizes. It's not when he finally texts back or realizes what he lost. It's when you shift mentally, emotionally, energetically. It's when you stop centering your worth around whether he stays or goes, and you start focusing on how you treat yourself. This mindset shift is simple, but it's powerful. I'm not here to prove I'm worthy of love. I'm here to receive love that recognizes my worth on its own. That one thought changes the entire game, because for so long, you've been trying to earn it, over-giving, over-explaining, shrinking yourself just to keep the connection alive. You've been trying to do it right so someone won't leave. When the truth is, love that requires you to abandon yourself isn't love at all. It's survival mode. And survival mode is not where queens live. The mindset shift begins when you realize you are not hard to love. You've just been loving people who weren't ready, willing, or capable. That's not your flaw. That's their limit. You stop asking, why didn't he choose me? And start asking, why was I trying so hard to be chosen by someone who didn't know what to do with someone like me? It's not about becoming colder or building walls. It's about raising your standard for what you accept and protecting your peace like it's sacred, because it is. You start moving from a place of wholeness, not emotional scarcity. You start choosing yourself every time someone tries to make you question your value. That's the shift. You no longer react based on fear of abandonment. You respond from a place of knowing that silence can be love. That walking away is sometimes the most loyal thing you can do to yourself. That you don't chase closure, because closure isn't something they give you. It's something you give yourself when you stop entertaining what hurts you. This shift changes how you date, how you communicate, how you see conflict. You stop trying to convince people to treat you better. You stop playing therapist to emotionally unavailable men. You stop overanalyzing texts, moods, and mixed signals. Why? Because when you know who you are, confusion is no longer attractive. And here's the beautiful part. Once this shift happens, you become magnetic, not because you're chasing anyone, but because you've become unavailable to anything that doesn't align with your peace, your purpose, or your power. You're not cold, you're clear. You're not distant, you're discerning. You're not bitter, you're better. This is the mindset that changes everything, not just how he sees you, but how you see you. And once that clicks, there's no going back, because the version of you that begs, chases, or settles She's no longer in charge. Now let's get practical. We've talked about silence, boundaries, and the mindset shift. But what does this actually look like in real life? Let's walk through a few common situations and how a high-value woman responds without losing her power. Scenario 1. He goes cold out of nowhere. Maybe he's been distant, taking longer to reply, or not reaching out like he used to. The old version of you would have sent a long text like, "Hey, are you okay? You've been distant, and I'm not sure what I did wrong. Just want to make sure we're good." But the woman who's shifted doesn't do that. Instead, she sends nothing. Or if she does respond, it's something short, graceful, and non-pressing. Noticing some distance, taking a step back to match energy, wishing you well. That's it. No begging. No paragraphs. Just clarity, calm, and confidence. Scenario 2. He says something hurtful, then acts like it never happened. You're tempted to bring it up immediately, maybe even with anger or tears. But power comes from calm, not chaos. Try this instead. What you said felt disrespectful. I'm not okay with being spoken to like that. I'm taking space. Let's not talk for a while. Direct, emotionally honest, and self-protective. No need to wait for permission to protect your peace. Scenario 3. He breadcrumbed you after disappearing. After days or weeks of silence, he suddenly sends "Hey you," or "Been thinking about you." The low-value response is to reply immediately. Happy he's finally thinking of you. The high-value response, either no response at all, or a firm one, disappearing then reappearing, isn't my standard. Take care. It's short, it's final, and it closes the door without drama. Scenario 4. He wants to talk things out, but nothing changes. He keeps saying the right things, but his actions never follow through. You're drained. Instead of explaining yourself again, you say, "We've had this conversation before, and nothing shifted. I'm not interested in repeating cycles. I wish you clarity and growth, but I'm choosing peace." It's not about fighting anymore. It's about choosing yourself louder than you've ever chosen someone else. Scenario 5. You feel the urge to reach out after going no contact. You miss him. You want closure. You think maybe one last message will make the difference. But instead of texting, you remind yourself, "If it was right for me, I wouldn't have to chase it." Missing someone isn't a reason to forget what they put me through. And you stay silent, not out of pride, but out of self-protection. These are real examples of what it looks like to respond from strength, not insecurity. It's not about being cold. It's about being clear. Every time you honor yourself in these moments, you're teaching both the world and your nervous system that you are no longer available for emotional crumbs. If you've made it this far, it means something inside you is waking up. That quiet voice that used to whisper, "You deserve more," is finally getting louder. And I want you to know, you're not crazy, you're not too much, and you're not asking for too much. You're just finally seeing clearly. Because here's what they don't teach you. Being a good woman, a loving woman, a forgiving woman, it doesn't mean tolerating mistreatment. You can have a soft heart and still have unshakable standards. You can love someone deeply and still walk away when love starts to feel like self-abandonment. Your power has never been about getting someone to choose you. It's about realizing that you get to choose who is worthy of staying close to your energy. And once you truly believe that, your life will shift in ways you never imagined. The man who hurt you might never apologize. He may never wake up to what he lost. But that's not your story to carry. You don't need closure from someone who couldn't give you clarity when you deserved it most. Sometimes the closure is in the silence. Sometimes it's in the decision to let go, even when your heart still aches. And when that ache shows up, and it will, remind yourself pain is not a sign you should go back. It's a sign you're healing from everything you tolerated while trying to be enough for someone who was never ready. Healing is messy. Detachment is hard, but self-respect, that's the foundation. That's what keeps you grounded when your emotions want to take over. That's what helps you stop choosing people based on their potential and start choosing yourself based on your peace. There will come a day when you look back and thank yourself for walking away, for not responding, for staying silent, for letting the door close and resisting the urge to reopen it. That version of you, the one who chose peace over pain, is the one building your future right now. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone. Your existence is proof enough. The right person will recognize it, honor it, and match it. You won't have to ask for clarity, attention, or consistency. It'll just be there. So let this be your reminder. Your strength isn't in how long you can hold on. It's in knowing when to release what no longer honors your heart. You're not broken. You're just becoming. And every time you choose yourself, quietly, powerfully, and without apology, you step deeper into the life and love you actually deserve. This isn't the end of your story. It's the moment you start writing it for you. Now that you've learned how to recognize when he hurts you, how to respond with class and strength, and how to protect your peace with silence and boundaries, it's time for your next move. This is where knowledge turns into power, and power turns into transformation. First, take a moment to pause and reflect on your current situation. Ask yourself honestly, are you holding on to someone who's hurting you? Are you reacting out of fear, confusion, or the need for validation? Awareness is the first step to change. Next, start practicing the art of silence. When you feel the urge to respond impulsively, especially when emotions are running high, pause. Take a deep breath. Give yourself the space to respond, not out of pain, but out of power. Remember, sometimes not responding says more than 1,000 words. Begin setting clear boundaries. Decide what you will and will not tolerate, and more importantly, stick to them. It's easy to say, I deserve respect, but much harder to enforce it. Boundaries are only as strong as the lines you refuse to cross. Don't be afraid to say no, to step back, or even to walk away when your standards aren't being met. Third, work on your mindset shift daily. Remind yourself that your worth isn't determined by someone else's attention or approval. You don't have to chase love. Real love finds you when you're whole and confident in yourself. Journaling, affirmations, or simply repeating this truth can rewire your emotional responses and help you cultivate self-love. Finally, take consistent action toward your peace and happiness. This might mean unfollowing toxic people on social media, spending more time with supportive friends, or investing in activities that nourish your soul. Small daily choices add up, and they will build the foundation for the healthy relationships you deserve. Remember, this journey isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Each time you choose yourself, you reclaim your power, you rewrite your story, and you move closer to a love that truly honors you. So, what's your next move? Start now. Take one step today to protect your peace and honor your worth, because when you do, everything else will follow.